51 points over 3 matches. That is an unbelievable scoreline. They are on, to put this in perspective, an 100-point day at the end of the day at this rate, which I think is unlikely, but they basically qualified off that alone.
Yeah, they've given themselves a real big buffer and potentially put a bit of a target on their backs. That's the only element that we could see if they can stop being such a point hoover over the course of the rest of today, or how that storyline's going to develop. It's interesting, man. We're coming in at a fever pitch of the competition here in the survival stage, and we've not been live for very long today, but it's already getting tasty.
I feel like I can kind of understand what's happening. I said it before, but this is a bully team, right? Once you sit them in a lobby with the feeder teams, which these guys aren't really, but they're the feeder teams of the international scale, let's put it that way. I think that they will just go absolutely ham, and they're going to take fights wherever they want. And I think that's the good thing about IWNRX, is that they have that ability just to force teams out of position off pure gun skill alone. I do think that perhaps this is more of a sense that the group stage was too much pressure for them. I think that they were really feeling the heat over there. You put them in this thing, not much to lose at this point. It's just a quick send to the top, 2 days, you'd have a lot of time, they're just giving it. And I think this is how they should have played during the group tournament. But it's happened that it came a little bit too late, but also just in time.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And I think, again, as well, you get a little bit more time to acclimate to the grand stage. You know, it's huge down there. I mean, even in real life, outside of camera, like, you see just how intense that stage is. Everyone's stacked on top of one another, all the eyes on you, the crowd that's in the STC arena as well. Like, there is quite a lot of energy. So trying to fix those mistakes as the day's going on, where you don't have much time in between days, it's rough for you, bud. But at least that 1 day break, open the bag a little bit, reset mentally, come in here and try and put your best foot forward. They're doing that.
Yeah, I've seen IWNRX. I've been chilling. I think that more than anything, these guys have been raring to go. I think they would have rather played yesterday because they realised they had that full reset in their hands. But this is a team that I don't think wants to go quietly into that night. They would love to get themselves into the main tournament, show their fans what they can do, because they can certainly hit some big numbers, some big shots. DRX currently on our screens. Bit of a change of pace for them today. They were looking a little bit better towards the start of things, and once again have fallen off. It has been a rough tournament so far for DRX. Coming off the back of, you know, quite some decent games over in their own region into this, it's just pretty bad. Yeah, we can leave it there pretty bad. And we've moved on to Harami, bro, who were equally suffering in that group tournament. I don't think there was too many teams that were suffering that badly, but between DRX and Harami, bro, things were just not working, and it looks like the car is still broke for both these teams.
Meanwhile, Team Spirit on your screens as well. Their average survival time today hasn't been great for them. They've been struggling in the open moments.
About 30 seconds.
Yeah, bro, like a few seconds at least. I mean, maybe they've ramped it up a bit, but hey, it's going to be really hard for them, man. It feels quite sad. You know, you've come in, been already deflated over the course of the first 3. How'd you get that steam back?
Yeah, possibly even defeated at this point in time, because I don't know how you get that steam back rolling. They're going to have to be over by the engine, shoveling the coal in, because that's all they can really do at this point in time, and just try and hype each other up at this midpoint of the day. You've got 9 more games. IWNRX has sort of just sent it, right? Which effectively, if IWNRX doesn't continue to do silly things, right, throughout the rest of the day, there is 3 spots available. We'll put it that way.
Already one of them almost feeling like it's guaranteed with how the games have gone so far.
There's the confidence, dude.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? You take the elevated angle, you instantly spot out Nomi, separated from the rest of the Spirit Squadron. You put bullets onto him, he barely gets out. Got to retreat, recoil, try and reset with the rest of the gang. But Wolf laser focus, those eyes. They're hooked in. He knows. Anyone comes through this jungle, they're a target.
The funny thing is that, you know, Zed Wolf, pretty beefy guy, right? You know, never wears the glasses though on broadcast. Today, the glasses have come out.
Long range shot.
You can tell it. He's locked in. He's locked in for survival stage. You know what? I've got to bring out the rims. It's required. It's required here in this prestigious tournament. There goes the top side there. We've got Brute Force, Shudo, taking shots over towards Pandem. Moneymakers, very similar to Brute Force, I would say, but not for this tournament. They have really changed things up. And although Moneymakers aren't doing great right now, I really wanted to compliment them during their group stage because I think that they've had a massive shift in playstyle from EMEA into the World Cup. And I think for PMWC, this is a very, very tough tournament. And to shift your playstyle around that much in such a short order, very, very impressive. So although Moneymakers, they might not make it into that top four, I think that they could be very proud of themselves, what they've been able to achieve here. And I think that when they go back through to EMEA, the next Super League, they'll be doing very well off the back of it.
It was nice bumping into Old Boy as well yesterday. He was asking how Max Man was doing, saying he hopes to see him back on the broadcast, and he's finally got his wish. Max has returned, and maybe that will give them the extra stock they need there.
Yeah.
A little bit of Max Man energy, get everyone playing better. You don't want to disappoint Max, Blank.
You do not, because he will curse you.
He'll let you know.
He'll let you know. Get out his little cauldron, start brewing some potions. You'll feel a little pinch in the night, you know it's all over.
I've been maxed.
I've been maxed.
Yeah.
I've been maxed upon. And I think that, realistically, Max does also bring a blessing. You know, as much as he curses teams, there's also blessings there as well. Next circle, though, all the way down to Primorsk. A lot of water in this one, but we're shoving teams down towards that south side. Slight slope that heads down towards that south side, but it is Primorsk, which is the main feature here, as well as those beachheads, which teams might have to circumvent around the side of. A tough rotation for a lot of squads, but on top of that, there is the swamps, there's some compounds around here, but it is these rotations inwards that are getting dangerous. Team Spirit find themselves a flush and a knock early on here. Happy with that one. Weakening Rook as they pass through and looking for some more.
It's just been Nomi. He's happy to roam further ahead of the pack, take that anchor roll and start off those engagements when he sees isolated fights. And it's a clean one to take. You instantly take that one elim point, slow down Rook a little bit, force them to get on moving. Problem is, there could be a backstab as the rest of Spirit are taking heavy casualty now.
Panda taking shots over towards Effect. Not an easy player to lose there. Kind of reminiscent I always seen Team Liquid playing in that group stage, despite them, you know, just sauntering in towards the end, but they were constantly playing a man down, and that's tough to do and still make it in. DRX shots over towards Besiktas Black, and it was always going to be this case where moving into this circle, extremely rough, requires a different caliber of team to make it. But Tongji about taking names. There's a couple of players from Moneymakers feel the burn.
Isolated and already taking a lot of damage to kick this one off then. TJB are in a good spot. You've got nades coming downhill at least, but the compound control will provide them with cover, and there's a wall of smokes ahead of them. They even look for the opportunity to strike in the back, trying to play medic as well. One man down. You've got to think about your priorities here. Slide him down the hill, get the smoke walls up, isolate these angles. Don't give a free peek for Koa as he's roaming around with a vehicle.
Right now, Tongji about feeling slightly weakened as they do have to invest a player into that res, which effectively sets them at a 2-player count there. The Moneymakers, they sort of wanted to try and take advantage of that as much as they can. Brute Force look to have made a little bit of a boat rotation down towards that south side to get into Primorsk. Pretty big gamble, I would say, though. The circle not quite closed in as heavily as some others so far. So I think for Brute Force going down here, yeah, big gamble into Primorsk. Let's see if it pays off.
Yeah, it could be some big angles that other teams against them, you know, you never know, but could make it a little bit awkward. Mad Bulls just on the cusp, everyone else on parade as they slowly usher themselves forward into that smaller zone. A lot of it, like you say, just being taken up by the deep blue sea. No Poseidon action here though, Blank. No tridents to try and help you out controlling these bumpy waters.
That's for sure, but talking of tridents, you got Team Spirit currently on their trio on that eastern side, desperately trying to stay relevant in this tournament. A team that came second place, first place, second place in their group stage, only now to fall short in their finals, and looks like they're falling short now here in the survival stage. It is a team that I think a lot of people had high hopes for coming into the PMWC, at least the survival stage, but they are not delivering. But there is so many eyes on their back here, Jackie.
Everyone wanting to target them, realizing they're already so far down a slippery slope to start off today. Since they make mistakes, it could get very bumpy for them quite early. G+ Kia spotting out the rotate from Pandem as well as they come down the wayside. Got to kick it into second gear here. Try and get out of the angle, avoid being tagged up by those bullets. A little bit of chip damage onto a few of them. One takes a heavy hit in the back as well.
Yeah, it's a tough rotation for a lot of teams here, Jackie, honestly. I think that right now, I would say Moneymakers have actually played this quite cleanly despite losing a player, which is difficult, but getting down this coast on the western side has a decent ridgeline to play off the back of. The difficulty is going to be now, Jackie, is playing up towards that northern edge where you've got three teams sat and waiting with CAG, Osaka, Tongji Abao, as well as Inko, who have been really wanting some points here.
Inko. And they build something up for us the longer this one goes on. DRX with the nades, casting those out one after another. You see the opportunity to seize this engagement versus Pandem. A well-placed nade could be the difference maker. Shots round the side of the tree as well. Carving the DRX logo into the bark, but it's the nade that has more bite.
Pandem will just try and hold on here. Your players down towards that south side. With a cheeky peek there as much as he can, but it's DRX who is just blowing them out of the water right now. They're stuck in this ditch. Not much they can do about it. But this is a very central position, at least for DRX. They're alongside with the final player, I believe, now from Team Spirit. What a horrendous run it has been for them.
Yeah, it hasn't gotten any easier over the course of the day. Feels like you've been hit with the unlucky stick, and each and every game we're seeing that spin cycle occur to them. Pandem as well, when he down to the solo off of that engagement they were locked into with DRX, going to make it harder for you to rack up more points, keep the safety net in fourth place.
I love this rotation for the Moneymakers, heading directly down to the south now. They hear a lot of the shots on that northern side. They're like, this is not for us. Let's head further south here. On our screens, D plus Kia trying to fend off versus squad in front.
Nades cast in, clearing out the close angles. Rame, bro, trying to split their mind between two decisions here. Do they play for the offense in case D plus Kia go in aggro? The DPS pulled out on the close angle. Weren't ready for that one as the chips are down. And the man's going to grab himself a royal flush.
DBS comes out. When the chips are down, the chips come up here for D plus Kia, it seems. Very nice. A DBS, a hellish weapon to go against up in the warehouse where there's so many angles you can play off the back of. Kakali here, Vitali, from Inko, holding off versus CAG Osaka, who seem to have some kind of a lifeline injected into them. And with a sudden shift on the circle, that gamble for brute force has now just elevated in value a ton.
That's a plus EV play. Their stock's going to go up on that one. You can try and build yourself in the later the game goes on. Inko as well, still taking shots back down. COG Osaka, they're trying to move out, see if they can reposition from that rough spot they were left in with limited cover to work on. Rook also taking bullets towards the back as the fights are breaking out all over the shop.
Scary thing though, Jackie, IWNRX, 4 players still up on that eastern side. The Hoover, it's not done yet. This is industrial hoovering that's going on during these games. Sucking up all the points that they can in these matches. And they've set themselves up for great success on the outside. Now, you can see, well, you will soon, I hope. Over on the western side, I'll break it down for you in the meantime. There is so many teams that have sat themselves up, posted in Primors. Right now, IWNRX is one of the only teams outside the circle that is not in Primors. So if this shifts over towards the east, Jackie, then you have a case where IWNRX just controls so much zone. Twisted Minds, though, looking to take them back.
Oh, mate, the nade is what saves them. Twisted Minds. It looked like they were going to get a bullet through where their thoughts get processed before they could even clean up on the play they committed to. Zed Wolf was able to trace and track, and the nade is dashed back in. Near miss on that one.
Very close, dude. Number one pops on the top. I mean, should be into it. Just about gets out the way with the vehicle. Is sent down the hill.
Oh, he's got to tuck in. Play medic now. Reset himself. It was looking good for the initial engagement, but the longer it's gone on, Twisted Minds, it really started to slip through their fingertips, and they're so fragmented in terms of the setup. IWNRX, they've got range to play with, and they're going to start getting ushered in as well. It's not looking good for them.
Yeah, for IWNRX, they're playing a really strong position. I think Hygo understands he needs to get some more information on. This is a bold move from him, but will immediately get shut down, and I think it was too bold, in fact.
Oh yeah, there's an underline on that one. The font's 24 points deep, and it's not going to go well. You're really fragmenting your squad, losing so much manpower. down to a horrific position to try and recover from. You got to call for the backup, the cavalry coming in inside of the vehicle. IWNRX, they've been handling these fights. If they can catch them on the getaway as well, some bullets in the back, it could really ruin their time here.
Yeah, they've got to switch this into italics now, Jackie, because Obscure's only got Ratto Boy to lean on now, as they head themselves into Primos, which seems to be the general idea for most teams in the lobby. Falcons up towards that north side, another team that a lot of people thought would just head straight through to the groups, the main tournament. Here they are in the survival stage, not doing too badly, currently in 4th place as they lose a player.
Tongji Bao, an awkward fight for them. Constant nades barraging in, no easy getaway. You have to sit there and take the splash damage, and the shrapnel ruins their chances. So they're gone. Removed from the equation. Here we go, though. Falcons up on the hill. We've been talking about if they can spread their wings and start to cause some issues in a matchup like this. They got nades for it. Downhill battle. You should be in a good spot. Low HP as well. Just got to get him on target, and Chips is going to buckle on that one. Not as clean as it was previously for him. D plus Kia. They've whittled themselves down to just one man. A solo that's forced to try and think about the bigger picture. You know the fight's gone.
Falcons do look to be spreading the wings and flapping them, enveloping D plus Kira in a gale from upside the hill here. And they will be sent back via that tornado. Great play there from Falcons so far. I'm enjoying the position they're taking. They're taking control of this high ground on the northern side. They've had a similar idea to IWNRX, which they think that, look, man, a lot of people are putting too much stock in Primorsk right now. So many players are going to have to try and escape this one as the circle heads further towards that north side. There is so much ground which is just free and open for CAG Osaka as well as Falcons just to manipulate. IWNRX now even shifting up on that eastern side. Man, the teams with all the points only seem to be getting more as Nobu is sent back to the lobby there with a nade that just bounces over the top. Falcons do not want to let a position like that go unpunished.
They want to keep themselves building, climbing up the rankings and guaranteeing themselves a good finish towards the end of the day. 3 Elim points in the pocket. If they can keep this going, there might be something to be said about Falcons' resurgence here in the survival stage. A lot of squads nearby, though. They at least first onto the last man there and clean house on the engagement that kicked off a little while back. You can see it from the map screen, the spread that we've got here. CAG Osaka as well down towards the bottom side, with Moneymakers starting to move their way up. At one point in this game for Moneymakers, it felt like it was already pretty over. The fact they've still got 3 players to work with, maybe there's some longevity to it.
Yeah, it's a smart rotation and one that they could only have made in that moment. So many teams had already bottled their way into Primorsk and they decide, look, there's some really good high ground we can play on that side. They've already pre-scouted a lot of this rotation back on the beachhead up towards the north so they can potentially play off the back of CAG Osaka. It's a bit of a difficult one to go for, but I do like the way the Moneymakers are playing. And having Old Boy back in the roster, playing with the team, most likely, is the beautiful thing here. I think that's the main thing that I like to see, is that, you know, he's been on the bench for a while, but it feels like he's learned his lesson.
Yeah, going off the leash a bit too much, potentially the aggression, the overconfidence in some fights got the better of him. If he can shape up, fly right, help out the rest of the team, we know his gun skill can reign supreme in a lot of those fights. This is when we said goodbye to TJB. That was the nade that absolutely ruined their dreams.
Yeah, and that cleared out a lot of space for Osaka on that western side, which was much needed. I like this play from Falcons. They understand that this is a large amount of high ground that they've got to control on this northern side, so they leave Nurzed on his own, playing a pretty defensive position on the western side, but the rest of Falcons, they're trying to deal with the slow encroaching push that's coming through from IWNRX, who have already sent one of their players up towards that northern side in Swain. He's just getting some scouting done, but I like that from Falcons. They're understanding they need to control both of these sides here. They cannot let players get up to that compound on the east. This is very well done. The circle, however, centers up. Now, this is a really horrible crossing towards this road that you can see on your screens. A lot of barricades in that location, the ticket boxes. It's going to be an awfully weird endgame. For some of the teams on the south side, they're lucky in the fact they've still got buildings to play with from Primorsk, but they'll have to fend off from the amount of teams that are going to be bounding, leaping, jumping from window to window from that south side, trying to claim some kind of position.
It's where that movement, that game sense, the understanding of how to weave your way around encounters and when to kick off a fight is going to do so much for you. A lot of these squads going to be crouching low, waiting like an animal to pounce in beast mode. just biding their time. You can see it with a fragmented duo of Twisted Minds as well. They got to keep their bellies down to the ground. Only get stuck into an engagement if there is a confirmed way they can steal some points. Falcons on the move up, take some damage back on the top as well, and get in position. IWNRX are their challengers for this one, and they've got a nade to throw straight down onto them. They want to isolate and remove the fights from Falcons here.
Great play there from Frozen, opening things in a big way. And the thing is, Falcons made a smart rotation coming down to this small valley here. They wanted to cut off IWNRX, but that opener there is huge.
This could really be big for them. They want to commit off the back of the establishing damage done, but there's a shot back from Nurzed, the point man that we spoke about. We know that he can be lethal from a distance, and again, his injection comes through.
10 nades on action here. Looking to explode the guys from IWNRX backwards. Yes, they've lost a player, but they're not down and out just yet. IWNRX equally takes some punishment, and then some more nades going to the top. Frozen lucky to get away from that one. He was in the buggy when he went past. I think that the guys on Falcons, they've got enough ordnance to potentially deal with this, but it's all starting to kick off down towards that south side. Brute Force open things up on towards Mad Bulls.
Near miss on the nade as well. And that's the difference of the utility having so much stock in an elongated fight like this. The constant smokes that provide a shroud for Falcons with the bombardment of nades that roll in. Spirit finally taken out as well. And everyone's going to have to get a bit of a move on here, Blank. Things are starting to heat up. Twisted Minds, they've been biding their time. And that's the backstab onto IWNRX.
Too much fighting happening in an elongated period of time there, and this is why that rotation for the Falcons was so smart. Getting into that little valley covers them from Primorsk. IWNRX need to finish out that fight quickly. When Frozen got that initial nade, I think they just had to jump on it. Instead, they wait around a little bit too long. There's been openings from the back line, and this might be the first game in a while where IWNRX does not just take the cake all the way home. They do get 5 eliminations on the match and probably a top 8 here. We'll see what more they can do, but I doubt it's very much. So I do like the way the Falcons played this one out, but Frozen not done yet. Ever since that initial grenade, he's been feeling it.
Oh, don't give him the opportunities. Don't give him the satisfaction. DBS in close range is going to be awkward from the distance that they've got. And Top was able to turn, set his attention back on them. You've still got Twisted Minds as well. That duo that's been crouching around, striking whenever there's a third party to fight on. And that's how we say goodbye to IWNRX.
For the first time today, we see IWNRX go out relatively early, let's say. Very, very nicely done from Twisted Minds, because we remember this is a team that was super hurt by IWNRX in the first place. They get some sweet, sweet revenge towards the end there versus Frozen. And Twisted Minds going to carry on as two with what is not a bad position right now to hold out teams coming through from Primorsk. It's really brute force that's on my mind. They've got 2 players, but they're in a horrendous position, surrounded by teams. And also, how can Falcons close this one out? They've got to be ever so careful here.
There's no room for error. Already in a few fights, it's looked a bit jittery, but they do isolate that engagement versus Obscure. They spotted him out on the hill. He's been getting away with murder for far too long, so now he's down and out. It's just Rattaboy that's left, and he was playing a completely different style of matchup with the Bison. Claps back. All right, Falcons take a hit from the side. That's DRX from the distance.
DRX have had a super central position from the very start of the game, and controlling these compounds is going to be huge for them. They have 4 limbs, but they've just been trying to make sure they've got enough ammo here. You can see even just on the barrel, only just getting that refresh there for QXZ. So important, but yeah, this is basically a gated community right now for DRX. Playing also in the 3-story, I like that, having that outpost, you can always move back later on. Rattaboy is grenaded out of position. That will be Twisted Minds going out in 7th place with 3 elims.
Scrambled and out, tried as much as they could to push the initiative with the 2 players they had, but forced to fight. The exchange of nades goes against him. Like you said, that gated community evicting more and more tenants that live here. No rent to be paid right now. Old boy sticking himself back into the action as moneymakers are looking to get some stacks on this one.
Yeah, no, that's a power play right there. You take 80% of your HP, you don't pull out a first aid kit, you pull out the nade. You know you've got to send something back to give yourself a little bit of time, a little bit of presence here, and it has forced Nurzed off the position, which is what I like to see. Now, it is realistically moneymakers versus Falcons on this north side. Most teams on the south can't really afford to move out. DRX is just holding things in position. So we have these 2 isolated fights going on at the same time. Old boy takes another nasty hit. I think he's only got 1 more first aid kit as well. And Nurzed creeps ever closer now.
Belly down on the ground, trying to slowly close that distance but not reveal himself to different positions. He knows that these nades could be lucrative if they're on target, and Old Boy maintains his current position, trying to play for the heal. Meanwhile, Brute Force as well, taking shots from DRX.
Big names been taken away by DRX so far, and they have just had a beautiful setup and the center of the circle for so long. Nice little transition as well from them to the compound that's further towards the center of the circle. This is going to be hard to dismount this team from. They're one of the few teams that has maintained 4 players for this long. However, we have seen DRX choke so many times before. There was a nice little knock that went through to the Moneymakers. Now just Havlik a lot on his back to do.
And they know his position now. That was the last nade that was tossed from Nerzed, but it baited out the face. Oh, Molotov as well, denying the opportunity to go in for a quick pick-me-up style play. Firing bullets out, trying to put the pressure back on them, see if he can plant those seeds of doubt, and going for the confidence pickup. Knows that he has to keep Old Boy alive and really gambling on this one.
I like this play for DRX as well. They're moving up early. They're not just letting this fight go unhampered. But Nerzed, Spock's Humbid, he's going down. This guy's on the swivel right now. Knows he needs to be dealing with the teams coming through from the open in Primorsk at the same time. The Falcons looking to put up big points this match.
Rock'em sock'em rope. Oh, there we go. That's going to take the head clean off. The nade's on target, but it's again an opportunity to counter back. Nerzed on the peak, good for 1. There's a trade from Havlik, but he's so low. He can't seize the opportunity that's been presented to him. He's got to drop back down, go for the quick pick-me-up, see if he can actually save Old Boy with the zone nipping at their heels and the paranoia about the peak from Falcons.
DRX cleaved in half. The great axe coming through from both Falcons and the Moneymakers at the same time. Can't feel too good about that one. Look at that. They retreat immediately back into their buildings. The confidence just isn't there, Jackie. They realize these warehouses are way too exposed. Falcons will finish off Old Boy and get the flush on it. Nerzed goes down. 2 players now for Falcons. Just the one on Moneymakers. They have held on for so long here, but the knuckles starting to go white in the grip.
They might lose their grip on things if it carries on like this. If Havlik can do something huge, bit of a risky peek on the side as well, but he gets in the building, avoids the potential timeline where he goes down without even getting close to causing problems. Quick switching his way through the weapons, calling in for the backup. They know they need to find their way through this house. Shotgun up top, biding their time for the peek. You got nades raining down on you as well. They're looking lost in the clutch, lost in the fight right now.
For DRX, so this is bad news. The circle is pushing in. Havlik somehow keeping things alive for so long, but it will be DRX to come in and finish that one off. Your QXE over the top, a big task ahead of them.
This is what it all goes down to then. Can one man make a difference? Can it all be on him for Falcons to clutch it out? Or will DRX complete their legacy and take the win on this one? Grab themselves not only the elims, but the points for the chicken dinner as they find it and shut down the Falcons in second place. A chicken dinner for DRX.
A really huge game there for DRX. They were far down the rankings. Things started off fairly decently at the start of the day, and then they just weakened. But that game, test the strength for them, still felt a little bit shaky towards the end there with back and forth, where they pretty much were the only team that didn't really take casualties. They had a strong position to play in. But honestly, I do think for DRX, that was fairly nicely played. And even when it was a case of, look, we're not ready to take this push yet, they went back to their buildings and really thought out their scenario. And I think that that is the smart thing to do in that scenario, and it does take a bit of more of a intelligent mind to be like, look, let's back off here. This is not worth our time.
Playing the disciplined PUBG Mobile, playing for the percentage moves rather than getting overly headstrong, too confident with the position they were given and some of the fights that were presenting themselves. It's a fair play to them. It's a big point to take a chicken dinner under the belt as well. 4th matchup of the day. Only 2 games remaining for the opening day of survival stage, and they come out swinging.
Totally different type of Falcons that we're seeing though in the survival stage. Very much more what we're used to from this team. Intelligent maneuvers. I think Havlik just kind of outplays them at the end there. Really strong gun skill, mechanics in that location where he's holding on for dear life for so long, and the Falcons just cannot deal with it. I think that was very well played. Again, Moneymakers make a very good rotation. Falcons make a very good rotation. I think DRX gets the win. off a good position early game.
Yeah, they had the smarter setup, and in the end, it does go their way. But yeah, that fight between Falcons and Moneymakers, man, there's always a timeline for me. When I'm watching Old Boy be able to survive and keep himself topped up, I'm thinking maybe things get crazy. And maybe the rest of the day will get crazy as well. When we come back after the break, lock yourself in for more PUBG Mobile.
The most important thing what we do is we kill Harami on contest. So tomorrow maybe they're not gonna jump. By the way, better than zero, huh?
Max! Wait, Max, didn't even move! Max, you're supposed to go there!
The arms out. Oh, okay.
Welcome everyone back to the desk here as we break down that last match. I don't need any of these cards because things aren't just going to work out. Doesn't matter how I try to set things up. DRX, though, what a fantastic win out of them. Obviously sitting over towards Primors. I think most of the action was more towards the north side, though, with Falcons and IWNRX. But for a team who finished dead last in our group stage to get a victory here, it might have been able to bump them up potentially into top 4.
Flip the script right now. Is what's happening in the survival stage.
D+? Was that D+? They won?
Reverse D+. No, but it's a really good game from them. Of course, it was very laid back win, right, for DRX. All of the teams have been focused in their kind of vicinity, and they just got themselves all of those eliminations and all of that extra position pretty much for free. Good fight versus Falcons too, right? Transitioning across the road and getting the win and all those elims are like good for DRX, I guess. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I don't know why you even know what I was saying, to be honest.
DRX was given that win. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. To be fair, you know what? Let's actually try to focus on a little more. DRX did something that I actually enjoyed. They ended up third partying a little bit the fight between Team Falcons and Moneymakers, which allowed Moneymakers to go back and revive Old Boy, which I don't know how he ended up surviving from that Molotov, but I'm glad that he did because they were able to at least get some extra points.
Gentlemen, Team Spirit, 1 point. I hate to keep harshing on them, but that's a team that showed a lot of promise.
Who?
Yeah, Team Ghost. Because that's what they've been doing this term. They've been ghosting it quite hard. It's unfortunate, but let's talk about, again, the other positives, right? Yep. Moneymakers, Old Boy playing with the team.
Yep.
We see an okay game out of them. I mean, the thing is I think Claris was saying when we were sitting down that just one decent win, and I actually think it was you, not him. Think about it. I give him no reason.
He's always Claris saying
he's not even here. It's one win, like decent win, right?
Yep.
So say 10 eliminations, chicken dinner, that's 20 points. You can go from the bottom of the table to like almost 4th place. So it is still extremely condensed at the moment because IWNRX has been able to soak so many points towards the top. So really anything can happen. However, the possibility of one of those big plays of happening, like our Boom, right, getting 30 points and getting themselves in the top 12 seems very unlikely.
Yeah, and also I think it's going to be a fight for 3 slots into the finals, right? Like catching up to IWNRX, they just need to have a semi-decent end of today and tomorrow. Like it's only 3 spots that are going to be remaining, so it is going to be a tough one.
So the reason I wanted to see Falcons up against IWNRX is because those two teams had about 50% coverage of that zone. Basically, north of the road of Primorsk, it was completely controlled by these two teams. And it almost seemed like a battle between these two teams would determine who would potentially win the game. Go ahead, Son.
It seems like some of these teams, Team Falcons, IWNRX, it seems like they were just taking points of what Alliance was doing during the group stages because we're starting to see more of those wide, pretty much splits between some of these teams. Something to note, though, with NRX, what they did is they ended up splitting it a little bit too late. Falcons was able to kind of cut them off, and Falcons was able to take full control of the North, and that ended up working out in their favor because they were just able to kind of push back IWNRX.
And even Nozed, I think, at one point when the IWNRX were going for the push onto Falcons, was actually trying to scout and give information over to the rest of his team, and I feel like he was just maybe a little bit too far away, lacked information, allowed IWNRX to cross the road over the ridge, and then Falcons pretty much are going to struggle to survive as 4. They do keep 3 alive at least, but as a 4-man, maybe they win here versus DRX at the end.
The good thing was the coverage that Nurse said was able to get. One, he actually got back to that top spot. He was able to kind of knock down those players and stop whatever push IWNRX was making.
Yeah, actually, let's take a look at this top performers you guys did just see on your screen, because I did want to point out that you do have Nurzed first with 1,000 damage done, and he did play day 1 of group stage, right? But then if we're giving DRX such a hard time about, kind of like a casual win, they still have 3 players in basically the top damage or top 5 damage from that last match.
Yes, but like you expect it from them, I would say, right?
But what I'm trying to get at is they had like no points. They had
They were being proactive.
Total in 2 days in group stage. They're at least showing that when they have the position, like we have criticized them quite heavily on day 3, when they had proper positions and they weren't able to like lock them down, especially high ground positions. At least here, they did close it out and they did get the points that they should have been able to get.
I'm with what you're going, though. Yeah, I'm with what you're going because they were a team that was very passive, and in the past they used to hold good angles, and teams would just run over them. So it's good to see that they are being a little bit more proactive. And with Nurse, I'm happy to see him there because that was a big question mark for me. Because what they were able to do in the matches that they did end up playing. And look at this overall ranking.
What Kalara said, right? Bottom of the table, 1 decent win. He gave himself the 4th place ahead of TJP, ahead of Bashik, Desperate Force, Moneymakers. And then obviously Moneymakers with their, I think, 11 points able to get into the front page. But this is some big shakeups here.
I do want to go back to DRX real quick because sure, they were being proactive, as you said, right, in that kind of position. I still feel like it was very easy. A lot of the teams were getting funneled in their direction. They just had to take some very easy shots. I do want to see something of a similar caliber when they don't have an easy setup game like that, right? If they do that, top 4 might be happening.
I think the reason that we're going so hard on that is the fact that like they had these situations before and they did nothing from it. They would have like 0 elimination.
They will legit lay down and wait for teams to pass by. So for now, for them to actually be shooting at teams,
if they didn't shoot there, like they would never shoot. Like, you have to at that point.
You'd be surprised.
Well, you know what? We're hearing from us. We do get to hear about when one team does really well in these matches. We hear another set of talent scream.
Oh.
Team Panda. Actually, going to be talking with Sandstorm in a quick little interview. We'll be back with our next match of the day.
Hello and welcome everybody. We're here in the STC Arena after we wrapped up Game 4 with only 2 matches left, and I'm joined by Achul from Team Pandem. Achul, you managed to qualify from PMNC into PMSL, and now you made it to the PUBG Mobile World Cup. So tell me, how prepared do you feel coming into this tournament?
Ya Acul, tim Pandum kan itu lolos dari PMNC, terus lalu kalian dari PMSL qualified ke PUBG Mobile World Championship. Nah, di situ kalian kira-kira persiapan timnya apa aja buat nyampe di turnamen ini? Persiapannya ya kami kayak latihan terus, kayak misalkan ada salah kayak kami pelajarin gitu, kayak kami benarin nyampe kayak sebagus mungkin lah. Oh yeah, we just keep on improving our game, correcting our mistakes until that we can give the best game possible for PMWC.
I like that, constantly looking at what kind of mistakes you may be making and try to improve on them one right after the other. So here's the thing, we love an underdog story when it comes to the Esports World Cup, and on a stage like this, anything can happen. So what are the things that you have been focusing on coming into this tournament?
Ya, di PMWC kita nih suka banget cerita orang yang nggak diunggulkan tapi bisa bikin comeback gede, bisa jadi prestasi gede. Nah, di PMWC hampir semuanya itu bisa terjadi. Kira-kira apa yang kita bisa expect dari tim kalian nanti tanding? Ya, kami kayak bakal ngasih game yang seru buat kami bersaing untuk masuk grand final. Yeah, we'll try our best to compete and then to give very interesting games so we can qualify to the grand finals.
They have been so far. They're on the precipice of making it into the top 4 with still 2 matches remaining in today's games. And of course, we still have the 6 games tomorrow to find out who will be the 4 teams joining us in the main tournament. So I want to ask you, how has the experience been so far for you at the PMWC?
Gimana pengalaman kamu di PMWC? Ya, senang banget ya, kayak stage-nya bagus. Semuanya senang lah, kayak bagus semua lah. We're just happy, the stage is nice, everything is nice. Yeah, we're just happy.
I like that. You know, you're still enjoying the vibes, enjoying the atmosphere that we have here in the SCC Arena. And personally, I'm looking forward to see how well these guys perform over the next 2 games and, of course, over the course of tomorrow as well. Achul, thank you very much for joining us for the interview. And now we're going to head on over back to the studio to see what happens in our last 2 games of the day on Miramar. Take it away, guys.
Well, here we go then. Last 2 matchups of the day. Opportunities to get points starting to slip through the fingertips of the majority of our teams. One team standing above all others. IWNRX have been farming up those points, Blank.
They have just been slaying the opposition during these matches, and it's been insane to watch so far. Even that last game felt like not a great one. Still 6 elims. Now, 6 elims is higher than whose points total? Team Spirits.
Yes.
This is depressing.
It is a bit sad. It is a bit sad.
So, you know what? If IWNRX can get the entirety of Team Spirit's points pool in one game, I'm certain of it that Team Spirit will be able to get at least maybe some points in this match here over on Miramar, or they might just need the full mental reset though. This is the problem with survival stage. You basically cannot have a single bad day.
No.
And this has been the worst day for Team Spirit. So at this point in time, unless they do something in this game, we're sort of counting them out. Already.
It's crazy, isn't it? It feels that way. It really does. And it's a shame to see. You would have hoped there would have been a bit of a second wind. But like we said before, no one's going to give those opportunities to you. You've got to make them for yourself. And they just have not been able to. Yeah, it's worrying out there, but the point distribution already starting to swell towards the top end.
Yeah.
I don't know what they can do for themselves.
I mean, it does drop down pretty heavily. I mean, you're 5th place with Tongjia Bao. They've got 28 points. Then we're dropping to just this 20-point glut between 7th and 10th place. You know, you're 21 points down to 20. Besiktas Black with 22 and 6th. So, you know, there's a lot that can change in that middle pack. But again, you're trying to jump up into that 4th place. But that can just be one insane game. Over in EMEA, Brute Force were able to pick themselves up a 30-point game over in that region in their Super League. And, you know, for them, that would shoot them up into 2nd place, 1 match. Easy peasy. But still, with a game like that, they would not be ahead of IWNRX.
No, not at all. But if you want to try and compete on the same level as IWNRX, then one way you can help yourself is the GT20 Pro. Get yourself that bad boy, get out there, get practicing, Blank. Who knows? You could be on this stage one day.
You could be playing with the best of us, honestly. At the World Cup, representing your region, the best way to start is to pick yourself up that GT20 Pro, because it's pro for playing with the professionals.
It's pro for a reason.
It's pro for a reason, guys. Brute Force on our screens, in towards El Pozzo, looting up nice and early. Circle heads east. Over towards Rook Esports and IWNRX once again. Strong position. Over towards El Azahar. Quick switch back. And it will be Tongji about losing a player.
Okay, it looked like it was set up for an easy drive-by on that one. It should have been a freebie. Instead, it's a one-for-one trade on the schoolyard with the trading cards then. Either one of them going down to three-man squads.
Not the best. An ideal situation for either squads there. Bit of mutual destruction going on from both these teams, but does open some space up for a team like Team Spirit. They desperately need some space right now. Just to breathe, in fact.
Yeah, it's getting claustrophobic with how these games have been.
Inco, another team that we sort of expected a lot more from. They got fairly close to making it into the main tournament, but were pipped to the post right at the end. Here they are, 15th place, 8 points. Dear me. I mean, it's got to feel bad when you've got your basically brothers in arms with Team Liquid and Alpha 7 already in towards the main tournament. You want to join them. You want to join them. Do your region proud by getting as many of your teams in. But right now for Inco, it's not looking good.
And they've had some good rotates. Had some good moments. There was a few highlights back in the group stage, but honestly, that's such a distant memory for them now, with how the survival stage is the only thing that's on the forefront of their minds, the most important piece. And they're similar to Team Spirit, all the way down towards the bottom of the standings. Only a few points of difference that set those two squads aside. So if you want a recovery, it's going to happen soon.
One quick peek at the map here. Let's do a stock check, shall we?
Get in there.
Let's get in there. Lubendita, very focal position towards the center of this one, so you got that big old crater to be worrying around about. And again, that does shift a lot of sightlines away from that east and west side, so you sort of do cut the map in half just a little bit. You got teams playing over towards the east in Impala and Puerto Paraíso. They'll be taking their own fights compared to a lot of the teams pushing in from the west side. Moneymaker's got a hell of a rotate though. I hate this rotate personally. It's a tough one to make from La Cobreria down towards Hacienda del Patron. So a lot of times you'll see teams on that north side try and cut in towards the south and try and rotate alongside teams like Inco and CAG Osaka. That would be a smart move, but again, you want to rotate through the Falcons, who have been pretty fearsome so far, pecking their way at the points total.
Yeah, it feels like the Falcons have started to become more of the vultures with the way that they've been isolating fights and really chopping down some of the competition. If it's maintainable, if it's sustainable, it'll be huge for the Twisted Minds. In the last matchup with just a duo, they were able to find opportunities to punish here and there. And it really is just a duo here. And they're thrust into the early fight versus DRX. Good splash damage done on one of them that will soften them up. Paranoid about the peek from the back as well. They sniff out Mad Balls, have overlook onto them, and try and dip into cover that provides for both.
Not a bad spot for the Mad Balls, honestly, down towards the south side. They've got a lot of oversight towards these teams on the north, but I think they're probably more worried about teams from behind them. Looking at Panda as well as Bro Team on that south side, they need to hold out. The Mad Balls got awfully close, but in that last game of the group stage, they just did not give it any welly, Jackie. And that was the problem. Like, they had nothing to lose in that moment and just did not go for broke. Instead are now broke over towards the survival stage, desperately clinging on.
That's going to feel rough to play from. Realizing that every decision you make has so much stock on it, so many eyes as well, from the viewers here in the STC arena, from the people supporting the organization back at home as well, watching the games dialed in. They need to have that upwards draft. Now, this is Twisted Minds that were dropped on by DRX quite some time ago. Since that point, they were able to spread themselves out further with more range to work with. Ooh, Ratto Boy in the back line. That's actually Panda that spot the opportunity to put some bullets into his back.
This is a tough fight now because you're going to expose on the outside and you got to worry about which angles you're taking, whether it be profitable for you versus DRX, or will they be bad where Pandem can see through. So decisions that are made now for Twisted Minds a little bit difficult. And DRX looks to punish this as well. They know that they've got the inside track inside these compounds. They're safe from those angles on the outside. Sort of just pepper away at Twisted Minds, make them uncomfortable. And it looks like they're going to make a smart choice here and try and push away more favorable footing, realizing this compound is likely not going to be picked up by them anytime soon. So DRX will pick up Longhouse.
So concessions made there, got to cut their losses with what's felt very awkward for them over the past couple minutes. Jump in, luckily, the vehicle they had to their disposal and reposition themselves in a better spot. It's also because CAG Osaka were moving in towards the hillside. They didn't reveal themselves, haven't put any presence out. We do have a bit of an assess on the situation. Zone ushering itself further down as well. Everyone's starting to get a bit of a hustle and bustle on, the pep in their step now.
And they'll have to step things up just a little bit to head further over towards our north side. Now that's a high, there's a lot of high ground around this area you can play off the back of, but sometimes it's not always wise to hit up that high ground over towards that northeast side. Luckily, this doesn't encompass that nasty valley that sits between Al Azhar on that northern edge. But we do have a lot of ridge sides to play around with, a lot of cover that can be had, even up towards that northwest. There's stages to that area of the map.
Oh, obscure. He likes trying to split from the rest of the pack a little bit. We've seen this before, but it's the worst time to do it with IWNRX hunting down and tapping out warning shots that become real big issues. Exclamation marks of damage done from the Mini 14, making the plays look major and providing opportunities for them to dogpile their way on and clean up a lot against Twisted Minds.
Yeah, IWNRX, some great shots there, and Twisted Minds just left with Ratto Boy literally ratting it out over towards this side of the map. The rest of his team ducked cover and left. Couldn't afford to head towards his position and compromise themselves. Bit of a sacrifice play there, but in the end it's actually just Ratto Boy who lives this one out. Mad Bulls, good molly. Basically cover the entire floor in fire. We're playing a game of the floor is lava for IWNRX, and they will lose Swain off the back of that. Now Mad Bulls might want to capitalize on this one. It's an ever so central position as well, Jackie, so I think that if there's any time to take a compound, it is now while teams are still crunching in and you have a little bit of more space to play.
When they go for that gamble though, show some confidence, show how handy they can be with a steal in these encounters. Or they keep themselves to themselves, play it a little bit slower. We get the overall assess on the lay of the land as well, what the rest of the squads are doing for themselves, tanking themselves back up. Whole load of nades being primed in the hands of IWNRX as well, as they are realizing Mad Bulls still locked in close by. Pandem with the lay of the land from the backside, wanting to get involved. The nades going up in the building, setting the stairs ablaze, making it hard for this fight for Mad Bulls to commit off the back of, but that's a huge nade into the tap. The UMP swipes up, and the SMG does some blind work to isolate these encounters, fragment the rest of IWNRX, and the Bulls can close in, close that gap up close. The spray dealing damage on the stairs. A close quarters combat that won't benefit the Bulls as they've been manhandled in the fight. Oh, mate, they keep it going. The backstab with the DPS, single-handedly wiping the Bulls down and removing them bit by bit.
Zed Wolf, man, on the corner, sinks the fangs in. That is an insane play coming through from IWNRX. You just cannot step for this team. Mad Bulls makes the right choice at the right time to try and pick this one up. They knew they were a man down. But I think leaving Zerich on the backside where the windows are just not going to be exposed, right? Maybe he gets one of those engagements during that where he can maybe spot one player through the window, but IWNRX is not a team to allow you to get that done. Instead, they just throw themselves into a 3v3, and it ends so poorly for the Mad Bulls. You can tell Zed Wolf is dialed in here, and another nice nade here from range onto D plus Kia. Nobu trying to keep him back, but honestly, he is just pumping that damage through.
Been good damage with the nades. Still more in the back pocket as well. Two of them primed on the close quarters turnaround. They know exactly where he is. Oh, the close nade. Getting some nice splash damage out. At least he sees the head, debating whether or not now's the time to peek up. Try and commit to the frag with the actual connection on the primary. Nade over again. Wow. They're keeping it going, Blank. They're dealing so much damage with these bad boys.
That's a nice air burst onto Osal as well. Will flush him out before they can get the res through, and they had to back up there. Another couple of air bursts. The shrapnel raining down upon him like an isolated rain cloud.
Just consistently punishing them every time there's a peek up and forcing them back into the depths. Ooh, a bit of a tag across though. Get your belly down to the ground instantly. You know you got a good angle to work with the geometry here, and the smoke's blocking some of the vision. It's all a downrange fight for them, and they've got to decide how to play this one. If they're going to go for the pick-me-up, get Chips back on his feet so he can help out the rest of the squad.
Kay's honestly playing an unbelievable range here, and still actually hitting some of these shots, making it so uncomfortable right now for Bro Harami. Just cannot deal with this. Effectively a sniper with an AR. Really, really well done, and that just gives time for the rest of DK plus Gear to actually get themselves into a position where maybe they can regroup, maybe they can reassess the scenario.
That potential for a reset. The smoke's at least paying dividends, giving them a bit of a shroud. The vehicle was still alive as well, even though it took some damage from the nades that were dropped down onto it. Damage to the paintwork. The engine block's still good for now. Moneymakers as well. It's been quiet for too long for them. We join Rook over on the hillside. That's brute force they're up against. Nice fadeaway. That's a good three-pointer on that one.
Easy game, just immediately gets back into the buggy. There is a player still out in the open. They're searching for him, but feels like Yankees just going to get a move on here. But brute force, nice hold out on this western side. But the circle does shift over towards the east, and it's barren land ahead of them.
Replay here, some of the highlights that we've seen from IWNRX. And it has been highlight reel worthy with the maneuvers they've been making. Finding elims, keeping themselves in the fight for longevity. Moneymakers. Still alive with 4 players. Ooh, spoke too soon. As you get the peek up from Nurzed, he assaults down with the AR. It connects onto another one. He's looked good today individually. From range blank, it feels like he's really crisp right now.
Yeah, man. This through on that northern side, once again, a bit of that rivalry coming through from the Moneymakers and Falcons. Duking it out here. Top, plenty of ammo to work with on the AUG. This guy is so terribly accurate. Luckily, Koa is much of the same.
Predicting the peaks. Pre-firing around the elevated angle. Bullets on either side of the tree. It's restricting his ability to take that fight cleanly and get a headshot off. Koa goes for the reposition. Moneymakers on the move.
So it's time to just move in. They're on the close side of the circle as well, so they can hit up this ridge side down towards that northeast. Smart move. Smart play to go for as well. And again, it just feels like the rotations for both Falcons and Moneymakers so far on the outside of the circles have been pretty clean so far. And it's quite difficult for either of these teams to push each other out of position because they're playing a very similar game.
Brute force. Bit of a scouting mission here. Keep your nose clean, a little bit of paranoia as well about what positions you could potentially take a fight from. Just assessing the land with Falcon sitting up top.
Yeah.
Rook finally losing the last man. Yankee went for the getaway so long ago, but he's been spotted and taken down, so Rook out as well.
I think for brute force, it is a tough rotate for them because I think they know they need to push through on this eastern side down the middle because it's just really difficult land to play down towards the south. Freezer will be raising up this teammate. Falcons have got to be worried though because there is shots coming through from that eastern side as well, as Moneymakers have eyes on. The two EMEA teams like a hydraulic press just squeezing Falcons at the moment.
Trying to shut each other down and remove any potential. Nice. Nade close, bounces off. Prepod back on his feet and back to dealing deathly blows with that utility again. And now they close the distance. They want to seize this opportunity that's been given to them against Falcons. You've got the good engagement off. Got the good start to the fight, but can you finish it before it starts to get out of hand? 4 versus 2. Positionally, Falcons taking pot shots back. Quick tuck in, looking for the man up, but the angle still works, and they get another knockback onto him.
Yeah, really nice spray coming through from Freezer there. As soon as he got that first tag, he was not letting him go. There is a wide swipe on the side from the Falcons, but again, this is just well played from both the Moneymakers and Brute Force. Again, for Falcons, it's a very, very difficult scenario to be in. Both teams making very smart decisions in the moment. But it is Inko. It's come from behind. A quick nades gets sent through, but will not deter Inko for now. As the Lion prowls up into position. Brute Force with one hand holding them back, but quite low on the back lines there is pre-pod, but they should get the full reset.
Brute Force be the Lion handler, or are they going to get mauled?
Nice.
Claws coming out. Bit of damage done. DRX taking casualties. Brute Force with the first as they flick over onto Inko and get the opening shot off they were looking for. Fragment them. Leave them with far less to work with now. Just a duo. Spread Finn.
Vitali knows roughly where Chudo is, but he swings wide. It's K finding a shot over towards Team Spirit, who are on the very, very far in the circle, down towards the south side, but it's Nurzed, the final player left alive for Falcons, and he will not be able to step up to the task here, but will lay pre-pod extremely low, and you knew that shot was going to come through at some point, but it's the Moneymakers on high. A long-range shot will take down one of them, and he gets flushed too, so Brute Force down to 3 players here, but at 6 eliminations. It's not a bad game so far.
Tongji Bao. They saw that opportunity onto the Nox man, know that they could remove him, they get the angle. Again, from quite far back, starting to potentially move up a little bit as well with the freedom they have to play with from the vehicles. Team Spirit trapped on rotation. Again, that's going to be Inko, the assault. And from the distance, D plus Kia spotting them running through the fields with no cover to protect them, and they just lay waste.
Oh, there is just something wrong within that team at the moment. It's so long to deal with those players, and even just a crash would have been decent. The scouting has not been there. Surely they know there's only 3 guns on that position. You just take the 4v3 at that point. Can't be sat outside on the blue for that long, but we're back on ball with TJB, who have lost 2 players. Vitali, last alive with the Pubg inside the house here. And Brute Force just realised this is an opportune time to try and get away. It is the Moneymakers, though, who might have overlook onto this. And Freezer is going to have to hit some shots on the way. Will jump out the vehicle and look to hit a spray.
That info's gone both ways now. Either squad aware of the potential here. Smokes up, vehicles for cover, and you've really got yourself trapped in the worst location. So many sight lines from either side. You're getting pinned in. Vitali was waiting for so long to introduce Tongji Bao to Big Papa Pump. He's been holding on to it. He's got the weapon ready to strike, looking for the opportunity, keeping him guessing with which way he's going to go. Dives around the corner, strikes in with the first, gets the quick shot off. He's moving, he's weaving, and he's causing issues as he takes Tongji Bao down.
One into another there from Vitali. Great plays from him. But we're back on board, and the action doesn't stop here. The PNWC Team Spirit is out. Not a surprise at this point in time, but maybe a surprise to fans at home at the beginning of the survival stage. Bro Harami, Pandem, holding inside the building. They'd like to push further in. This is all the way on that eastern side where the circle's about to pop. It heads central. Besiktas Black with a decent position, but it's IWNRX who have had a killer hold.
Thought you gotten close enough to introduce them to the DPS, but it's another man down. And further, the issues arise. 14 Pandem, hitting that fever pitch, that pandemonium, the chaos that's being brought to them by Harami Bro as they start to assault back, looking to see if they can potentially finish them off here. That zone's going to start moving in as well. Pandem with a pre-fire around the doorway, expecting them to come running on in. They've still got nades to work with.
In the meantime, Moneymakers try to get up close and personal, but Brute Force, they sent them back over towards the east. Dropped some death crates whilst they were at it. Pandem with the pump again in hand. Single shell after single shell seems to do the trick here.
He's got it loaded with slugs right now as he's left them pushing up daisies. You've got yourself trapped. Top floor control, sure. Can you still clean up from this? just down to 2 players on either side. You've been able to at least win out on the opening engagements, but as this one goes on longer, will the nades make the difference? They make the quick move, dive out through the window, can't connect on the drop though, back into a 1v1, and barely. Bro, keep it going.
Lovely coordination though from the top side, both jumping out the window at the same time as those nades go through. Almost had it. In the meantime, Brute Force has been killing it over towards this north side. From what was a very difficult position versus the Moneymakers, they're able to take them down. And again, this is a really strong spot. Start working your way in. This little bit of high ground, this lip to play around with, has so much oversight onto the rest of the map.
Inco. It's been awkward for them in a lot of the fights. They've had to scrap their way through. Vitali had his highlight with the shotgun, but it might be low lights from this point as they're low down to the ground. The high ground is going to favor Brute Force from this position. Wide nade chucked across as well. 2 teams they're worried about, just trying to make sure that they backhand them with the nades and keep the distance.
The big thing for Brute Force is they know they have to leave at some point. So they're making the most out of this position whilst they still can. Here's the highlight you were talking about earlier. Through the smoke as well. Just swinging from either side. One nade should hit. None of them go through. DRX holds on by a thread. And Brute Force finds Vitali. This is what they needed to do. They needed to clear out these players as quick as possible. And what a push out from Judo that is. He'll do it himself. Heads down towards that western side. Now just Besiktas Black, and they have an immediate idea of where they should be. Getting refreshes on the nades, on the vests. But it's IWNRX. Flying like a sleeping beast on that eastern side.
How do you shut down that sleeping giant? Now it's roaring to life. 6 eliminations. Brute Force currently topping the charts with 11 to themselves. They're going to want more from this. The squad's finding themselves a small lull in the battle for a few seconds. Opportunities to top yourself back up, have an ammo count, and see where you go from here. But IWNRX, with the remainder of Harami Bro, off of their awkward engagement, they could be in real rough territory here. You've got the clean line of sight, predicts the jump into the vehicle as well, and that one's going to hit home hard.
Mate, Z-Wolf's on another planet right now. The thoughts ahead there as well. Knowing that he's going to try and move the vehicle, switches from the tyre to the back seat. You love to see it. Frozen still putting punishment out. Again, another similar scenario to Brute Force. IWNRX have had an insane hold on that eastern side, but now they need to create some opening for themselves.
Doing good on the defense, but it's got to get a bit more tenacious. Play with that offense. Wide nade in as well. Chips laid down. Takes a heavy hit from that one. IWNRX again, taking these opportunities to get stuck in with the range advantage they found themselves with. You got the quick getaway maneuver for Lewis as well. Reposition and try and get into a better angle. Have some semblance of cover.
Got Brute Force here. 11 elims. Looking on track for another big game. It's the Brute Force special. Hit the massive elimination count on a Miramar, and they're starting to get bold with it. Moving further up, a nade's immediately thrown. Clearing space. CAG Osaka. Just moving around the side, using these vehicles to bait out the grenades. I like what I'm seeing.
Trying as best they can to have that substantial distance so the nades go short. Quick assess here. Quick scout. Where are they? Where's our other avenues to be attacked from? Meanwhile, IWNRX laying down the law with the big guns as Bro are finally removed from the equation. D plus Kia start to move in as well. Limited space to work with. Lewis has been trapped in position for quite some time, but he sees the peak on the back. CAG Osaka taking fights now as they're looking for the peak over, and he might want to go for this one. He's revving himself up, scoped in, looking for the fight.
IWNRX look over towards D plus Kia. You're kind up front with the nades, looking to push in. Besiktas Black been in the Gladiators ring this entire time, and there's been audience members, but now they're forced into the ring with them. Can they hit them with the gladiatorial combat? And get the thumbs down or the thumbs up for the chicken dinner at the end of this one. It's been tough to hold on, but now they have a playing chance. Nice airbus, but not quite enough. There's one coming through now from Zed Wolf as he steps out of the way of this one. Looks pretty on target. Freezer just on the other side.
Inflicting chip damage. The shrapnel starting to connect. Meanwhile, Brute Force priming nades once again as well. They're throwing them back. Molotov casting it more awkward for them, but it's a nice nade that buys time. That one's going to be huge to actually play medic, get his teammate back up, but everyone else is sniffing the blood that's in the water, and they start to dive their way in. IWNRX, they go full aggro, dial up the temple, and they go going in. Look at the amount of damage you're starting to find off the back of this now, and causing so many issues with the fragmented Brute Force that you can pump bullets into them.
Freeze is in a desperate position. Good molly actually sent into the ditch there, but he's got so much to deal with as CAG Osaka have had eyes on towards him for so long. D plus Kia go down. That's from Lewis on Besiktas, has been hiding out in the trees. Out comes Freezer though, the one-man wonder, the rookie.
He's making plays, making money in these situations. IWNRX trying to stand strong, trying to see if they can fight back, but in the constant clash that goes on, we see them go down. More squads being ripped to pieces, and right now you look at the head count. 3 players alive for CAG Osaka. They take a heavy hit onto one of them, but you've got the manpower advantage. If they can play this one out, they could get themselves a huge chicken dinner.
Brute Force, goodness me, Freezer puts them on ice in that situation. IWNRX getting a little bit too hot for their boots. Lewis with the big gun. Looking to take down CAG Osaka, get a bit too close. Now, things may be open up to Freezer, but he's going down. Unfortunate there. Now just between Lewis and Osaka. Nice Molotov. Might be the end of him. He's set in flames. And it will be Osaka to take that one. They've had a fantastic day today so far, but that does open the floodgates for some other teams here. Besiktas Black jumps up a lot. Brute Force jumps up a ton with their 14 elim count in a 3rd place.
Massive moves again on that one. Playing the angles, smart in the engagements they took. And when the carnage came, they were ready for it and thrived in the chaos. Lewis, try as he might to have a heroic play towards the end, it's denied.
The MG9 could have been absolutely insane there. But to be fair to you, look, what I will say is that the boys on Besiktas Black were playing a really long game there because they had one of the strongest positions if the circle kept closing like that, and they bided their time. Honestly, I think they played it out quite well. It was just unfortunate that 2 players up front get rolled over, mowed down by the guys at IWNRX. It was an incredible push. Again, for IWNRX, they are playing so different to how we saw them in the group stage because it felt like that they were scared, that they were nervous in that one. Here, they're just realizing, look, we just need to play as if we own the lobby.
And that's what they've been doing. They really have just been taking these fights again and again. On this one, you saw that opportunity, that switch in their mind when they could see there's low HP on a few players. They just went for the swoop in, unload a barrage of bullets, and caused so many problems, mate. It looked terrifying.
It did, yeah. I will say one thing, though, for sure, is that Freezer has been one of the most incredible new talent pickups this year for Brute Force. What a player that guy is. Just continually putting up numbers, pumping out those points for Brute Force. And I think that game does put them into the top 4 now as well. So this gives them a chance. It gives them an opening, and it's typical Brute Force fashion.
It really is. We'll see if they can keep it going or how things are going to shape up at the end of the day. We'll see you after the break.
there watching and you're like, hey, Jason, would you ever expect the bottom teams from our group stage to not have only one, but 2 chicken dinners in our survival stage? I would say get out of here. There's no way that's possible, but Kagasaka and IWNRX have been able to do so and are at the top of the table at the moment. And if we stopped right here, right now, 7, do you know what would happen?
Yes. They would qualify.
They would qualify into the main event. And this has honestly been a stellar performance here out of these 2 teams. Obviously, Kagasaka taking this final win here. But gentlemen, walk me through this last game. Like this, if you're this team, you're like, they can taste it. They can almost grab it. It's like holding up anything, over shoulder height for me for 7 to grab. It's just right out of his reach, but it's there.
It's almost there. Brute force, though, being able to get more of the points there, 19 points. But with Kagasaka, I mean, this is just such a completely different team. I feel like this is also a better version of what we were talking about earlier with DRX, right? For Kagasaka, a couple times during group stages, we saw them not willing to engage. We saw them not willing to fight. Here, they were able to stay on the outside of the circle and take those fights.
Yeah, it's a good game to see kind of some variation come out from the teams, right? If you're thinking about Kagasaka, what did they do for victory here in this game? They had a decent compound in the south, as well as taking the extreme high ground of a Mesa in order to be able to get good information about what's going on north of them, good scouting motives, and then from there be able to make the moves in an informed way. And actually, I mean, this is a stark contrast to what we saw from them in that group stage, where they weren't really doing much, but now they're able to put some proper marks on the ground.
It's not even close to the same team.
Yeah, well, that's what I want to ask you guys. Like, I'll go to Kalaris because he's the one I know who will be brutally honest.
The smarter one, yeah.
More better looking, bigger biceps.
Yeah, bigger biceps for sure.
Has been nominated for an esports award though.
Right on. Look at those shoulders. Jeez.
But I want to ask you though, is this like IWNRX and Kagasaka playing that much better than they previously were? Or are other teams just not performing up to scratch that we'd expect out of them?
I'd say from what I've seen so far, they are performing better, for sure, no doubt. They're looking at them being able to take from that Erangel win, especially, and kind of move into this one in a bit of a stronger way. The Erangel win kind of came to them a little bit. It could have gone right with losing 2 in the compound, but now I'm seeing a bit more of a strong formation out of them.
Yeah, with the performance IWNRX is doing, though, I think it's safe to say now that unless you're gonna be going to the main stage, because we're gonna have 7 games left, and with how some of the other teams are playing, I don't see them being caught up, especially with the way IWNRX is currently playing. I mean, we saw Seawolf just getting absolute bangers of shots with that minute 14.
Well, this is the cool thing, right, about the variation that we've seen and the fact that we're seeing Seawolf now with 1,400 damage. There's your noise. That's insane. But again, it comes off the back of a Mini 14. Variation in playstyle. They knew they had a great compound. They can make use of a DMR where, honestly, we're not in the DMR meta right now, unfortunately. It does kind of happen every so often on Miramar because it's a great map for it. We saw Z-Wolf as well as Kane on the team making excellent use there.
Well, especially for Z-Wolf for me, because as we looked at PMSL EMEA, he was hands down the MVP.
Oh, yeah.
Look back to our group stage here at PMWC, and I couldn't even tell if he was playing or not. Like, this has been such a drastic change that they desperately needed out of him in particular to really step up. And it's been great to see because we know how good he can be as an individual player. Finally being able to see it is like a sigh of relief for them.
Do you think for some of these teams, right, that didn't perform that well in group stage, that now are performing well, like IWNRX, like
DRX.
Right, yeah, DRX as well. Do you think it has to do with how well the teams that have already qualified to the main stage were doing? That were kind of making them scared to engage? Because these teams, you mentioned it too, it's a complete different contrast from what we saw during group stages, and I feel like it has to be because of that. It has to be because they're not really having to worry about the performances that Alliance was being able to put up there.
I think there was some fear from some of the teams in group stage because people were making moves too late, desperate in movements, and then you crash into 3 teams, and then it's not like exactly the best spot to be in. Again, as you're saying, some of the teams that didn't perform, I'm going to do it again. South Korea wasn't having the easiest of times.
Yeah.
Now I'm seeing a bit more improvement from them. From not only DRX, but also D+, who was in Partona, miles away from this circle. And then 7 eliminations early in this game, and continuing to take those fights all the way from the south. So going from fight to fight to fight, and actually having some success. So
It's getting better. See, I don't know if I want to agree with the first part you're talking about.
Which one?
I don't saying like, oh, are they just not as afraid because 12 of the best teams have already qualified. I don't want to believe in that, but not necessarily saying it's not impossible to be true. But if you want to be a champion, you can't really be afraid of teams. You can't be like, okay, well, 12 of the better teams, they've qualified already. Now we can start to play more aggressive. You have to be confident in your own ability. And yeah, you do have to have a certain amount of respect for some of these best teams in the world. But you can't let that, I would say, necessarily define the way you're playing if you want to be a world champion.
But I kind of feel like Team Falcons showcased that in their earlier matches, especially during the first airing goal, where they were just fighting whoever
Where have they
wanted
been
to come along.
since?
Yeah.
There is at one point that match.
Also, technically speaking, with the amount of games we've played so far, it's still technically a small sample size.
Yeah.
And variance can happen in PUBG Mobile. I mean, you're seeing it here with two teams who were previously in the bottom four, now are rocketing up the board, right? Like, so you've got these opportunities for these teams to say, okay, reset things. We know we're okay. We know we're good when it comes to international play. Let's try and just kind of wipe the slate clean.
Well, we are seeing here our current overall rankings in IWNRX. Are we going to say it? Do you guys feel confident enough to say that, yeah, they're going to make it 100%?
Yeah, they're going to make it 100%.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we're going to have to be worrying about 3 spots, right? Second, third, and fourth, that's going to be a big question mark. And I'm kind of glad you brought up in regards to like where has Team Falcons been, because we really haven't seen much of them besides those first 2 games. Yeah, we saw Underset being able to get some good eliminations here and there, being able to back up his team, but it's not to the extent that we expect, I feel like, to see out of Falcons with the current pool of teams that we have here.
It just seems like they're resting back on just their elimination game, as I obviously pointed out before, and so did Max Van. The 1 elimination, or 1 placement point to the 20 eliminations, we can see they have 7 places to the 29 elims. They're definitely pulling out that IHC role. But you can see DRX, they're in close pursuit of Besiktas, which, if we talk about teams not playing aggressive, this is definitely one of those teams that's going to rise out there, a standout for the rest in terms of that play. They're still holding on in 6th place. TJB, honestly, I was expecting more out of TJB. I know we did talk about where they started to struggle when they didn't have Zona, they didn't have compounds. But for a team of the caliber of this who plays in PEL, one of the strongest regions in the world, which you can technically argue against nowadays, I guess, I expected them to be a lot higher, a lot better results.
And it didn't really help, right, in this game. Losing, I think, GK first extremely early to DRX. They kind of go blow for blow, the teams, and then back off from one another. But even both teams losing just 1 early is going to stunt the growth of them throughout that game, especially when you're in an open area like this and all the teams are already situated, ready to go and punishing you as soon as you're coming into this open area.
Well, you guys at home who are watching, make sure you guys open up the game, head into the esports client, and check out PMWC and subscribe to that to be notified whether PMWC goes live, because you do not want to miss a single match. And a single match is all we have left here today in our first day of the survival stage. So let's head back to our commentators of Jackie and Blank to take it away.
That looked awesome.
A single match is all it takes, Jason, at the end of the day. And we got teams towards the bottom are desperate for those points. Brute Force just picked themselves up a juicy game for themselves, sending themselves into a very nice, secure position at the top. IWNRX, on the other hand, is taking the survival stage by storm.
When they saw the name Survival Stage, they knew they had to thrive, and that's what they have been doing, Blank. Game in, game out, bringing the passion, bringing the pace. And now we get back to the playing. Our player cams up on screen. One final time today. Will it be broken, defeated faces, or elation at the end of this matchup?
Northern playing path from the west to the east side. I'll tell you, that's going to send you direct north, true north, the best north. It's the GT20 Pro, which is going to direct you in the right direction every single time, and that direction is towards the top with the best. Don't play with the rest, just play with the GT20 Pro. It's beautiful performance.
Let me tell you, Blank.
Cyber Mecha design.
Low response time.
Low response time.
That sound good?
That sounds great.
High refresh rate.
What
that
can I
sound
get,
good? GT20 Pro.
Every time.
GT20 Pro. They're flying off the shelves. They've got wings.
They are. That is a new addition that we brought to the firm.
Yeah, that was all you. You cooked that one up.
I did. I was like, that's going to be like in Harry Potter. You have to catch it.
Like the keys
Like the
flying
keys,
around.
The keys flying around, yeah. You don't just get to stamp your name on that trophy. You got to catch your trophy first.
You got to grab it with both hands, never let it go, and fight for every single point that you are able to get your hands on. So let's get into it then. Let's give this one some gas. Last game of the day. Hopefully this is going to deliver on all fronts. These teams need to come out absolutely swinging. You do not want to leave yourself in a position where someone else can decide your fate for you in tomorrow's matchups.
Some teams desperately need to connect on that swing during this game. We've got teams towards the bottom. We're counting Team Spirit out at this point in time. 4 points over 5 matches, a diabolical result for them. And it's not one that they should hit. And I think that's all I need to say. This is not the performance from Team Spirit that we're used to seeing, or one that they should have displayed here, because they have so much more in them. Hopefully we'll see them again next year, but I just don't think they can make it in, barring some kind of miracle. But even then, it's going to be tough. Inco Gaming, 12 points. Rookie Sports up to 18. Harami Pro on 19. But we are getting a differential of the pack towards our top side, with 5th place now being 35 points. IDB NRX, on the other hand, a 71-point day. What is this performance that's come out from them? This is incredible moves coming through from this squad.
What have they been eating, Blank? How
I
have they
don't know,
just changed their entire play style? And tell you what, they're feasting on these lobbies. That's what they're having for dessert today.
They just needed to, like I said, they just need to play like they own the lobby, because that's their play style. They play very aggressively. They have strong positions. They hold those strong positions. And look, I just think for a team like IDB NRX, they cannot be playing scared, because I think as soon as you put in a position where Zedwolf has to hold back and isn't able to channel that energy, yeah, he's going to suffer in terms of performance. So it feels like, look, they've just let them reign free, do what they want, and in these games they've performed. It has helped that some of the circles have headed their way, and again, for the second time on Miramar, we're getting an eastern shift on the circle over towards El Azahar, which is where they start their games. But again, at this point in time, they are just sucking up points towards that top side, making it so very difficult for these teams underneath, who are starting to sweat bullets now, trying to get in the lead.
DRX spotting out the drive-by. TJB. They put a few bullets into the back of the bumper, nothing that you can't buff out. You won't be too bothered as they do make their getaway. Avoid the potential for a stray bullet to cause issues early.
Your boys on the western side all need to move in. CAG Osaka taking their last game on the chicken dinner due to a pretty decent rotation, honestly. They just were aggressive with their initial rotation, went far into the circle, got a central spot, played around Besiktas Black, and were able to channel their victory from there. And it wasn't to say that they weren't harassed heavy by brute force in that late game, but they were resilient. And they took those nades on the chest, bounced them back a bit, actually.
Had the metal skin on that one. No damage being done to them. Bypassing the potential of a really upsetting game and actually making it look pretty good towards the end of that one. So we've started to have good optics for a fair few of our squads. Wow.
I mean, to be fair, that is just one match. So that's just their last match. Average elims at 14 would be insane.
Can they do it again? It would be unthinkable. It would be remarkable.
Right now, I think for brute force that they would like to do it again. There's teams all the way in 7th place right now that could take position over them. I mean, Tongjiabao at 32 points. Heading up from there, you've got 4th place with Team Falcons at 36. Brute force currently in that 3rd place position with 40 points. So they're not safe right now, because 2nd place is currently 15 points ahead. So they can't just have that. They can't be a one-game, one-wonder team, right? They need to just keep pumping their performance. And I think that game's a sort of match where it gives you some of that confidence back, you know? It makes you feel like, you know what, we are good at this game. And I think the main thing is that the rest of the squad should be feeling pretty brazen with the fact that, guys, we can't let Freezer have all the action, have all the fun. This guy's new. He's new to the scene. He's come up, entered into international tournaments. He's making the rest of the team not look bad, but they've got to show that they're the veterans on the squad.
Show those optics, much like the optics on the long-range snipe here. Rook dealing some damage from a distance. But no, I agree with you, man. It's one of those where it feels like he's come out swinging. He wants to prove that his benchmarks can be so high so early into his overall career. Taking down very strong opposition whenever they're thrown towards him. And Rook committing on to the knock, as they will be able to dispatch that man.
Yeah, for Besiktas Black, losing Kakali like that, one of their good off anglers, honestly, early on in the game. You know, 6th place right now, this could have been a nice game to put them in a position where they could shot up the rankings tomorrow. But losing a player like this early on in Miramar is pretty devastating. What are you doing?
Oh, Effect. Completely exposed. It's easy for the backstab, and Spirit, you're going to be reeling to recover. You close the gap on this one. That's only going to lend into the hands of the DBS, but he does mind a quick turn and burn. He's able to at least trade back and take 1-for-1 blows.
Man, Naomi's got to be furious in that situation. DRX just leave. But they were so unawares. Quick switch in the backseat there with the bus, making sure he doesn't get hit. Doing their best at least, but that thing might go up in flames. I mean, Naomi's spray is pretty on point here, actually.
Consistent damage done. Even Inko taking a piece of the pie as you go from bad to worse on the rotate in. DRX hemorrhaging players now because of the angles that they're exposed to when committing to their getaway. And this is throwing them into a bit of a dire strait. Already down to just 2 players, a duo for DRX.
Yeah, tough state of affairs. Team that's in, well, on that boundary in 4th place, going through from the survival stage. Not particularly how you like to end your day here. So a lot of our teams that are up towards the top side of the lobby are hemorrhaging players right now. Arinko's got eyes on, Mini 14, long range. They're stuck inside these concretes. And the blue's going to push them out as well. So I'm pretty sure right now DRX is done.
Gonna have to run through that gauntlet. There's the Inko players ahead of you. One in the back line taking shots as you roam. The rest, the trio that's just lurking up on the hillside, edge guarding you as you have to make your way in through the blue. Yeah, it's not looking good for DRX as everyone starts to make their move now.
Wow, big shift on the circle here, over towards the eastern side. We even have an island finish potentially with it heading all the way over towards that edge, but I don't believe that that will be the case. Inko is looking for more points here. They know that these are basically 2 freebies. Good burn on the Molotov too as QXZ. But we'll get crisped up a little bit. There is a return fire though. Gary going down is really bad for them.
Ooh, survival of the fittest as well. Just as Nate goes around the corner, he's able to get the meds back out, top himself up, quell the bleeding, recoil into a better position to play with the DBS. Inko wanted to clean up, tie up any loose ends on this one and make sure they scavenge these points and shut down DRX inside of this matchup. But the longer it goes on, they're starting to take damage back. You sit yourself up.
Closing now. Both these teams getting very, very far away from the zone. It's a zone you typically want to be in early. Honestly, Jackie, not a whole lot of room in this one. This went from Inko, potentially thinking they get some freebies. It's becoming a lot harder. QXZ on a dirty angle with the DBS.
Ooh, it's all about the timing. That's the bait shot. Fires out the first warning. Goes upstairs to link up with his duo. Tries to turn around the corner, get the information from the 3rd person. There's the clap back. Inko finally come in and are able to stop that one getting out of hand. It looked risky and it burnt a whole load of time for their rotate though.
Yeah, clean fight there from Inko though at the end. Did, like you say, look pretty risky at the start, but they clean it from both sides. And will force DRX out of position. Shudo gets himself an airdrop. This is Brute Force who are entering the circle on that northern edge. Moneymaker's not far behind, but Besiktas split up between them with Poser heading south past Pandem. And Besiktas toss pick over towards that north side. So a bit of a difficult round here for Besiktas.
Brute Force taking damage. Panda being able to hit the shots on that. So Freezer's gone. You've got Mad Bulls as well. Locked into combat with their horns, hitting against D+ Kia. As the shots are being rattled back towards them, they dive in the vehicle as well, looking to close the gap, knowing they were trying to go for the res. It's a close nade, hoping that they'll get into that one and deal some damage with it. English taking a lot of damage in the back as well. He's got to bail out now, tuck in behind the vehicle. High ground for Mad Bulls to work with, paranoia setting in.
English gets a little bit too close to the lightning, in my opinion. Will get struck back. D+ Kia doing a good job to keep them at bay, but Tulika comes on in to isolate the open angle. Fleeka's out of the vehicle, but will get shut down straight away by Chip. Potentially he's able to keep him up. I don't think so, though.
Oh, he tried as hard as he could there. Smooth moves on the engagement. You lose a player from it. There might even be more to be said. They've got the angle down. Spamming bullets around the corner of the vehicle, lighting up Tulika. There's the dive to bait out the crosshair as well. The vehicle detonates Tulika. Knocked on his last legs. Closing the distance. Shotgun in his hands. Wants to rattle off the warnings and turn them into a real exclamation mark on this one. And suddenly, there's only one man left. Pelting out nades. Knowing he's done damage, sure, but he's still got to survive his way through this. An uncomfortable fight to be in. On the peak up gets one. A slight reset. An opportunity to try to dip into cover, get the heal out. A 1v2 to fight from.
Nice Molly. The vehicle slowly heading down the hill, and that's Madball's done. D plus Kia survive what should have been an easy cleanup for the Madballs. D plus on this side, but an F minus for Madballs on that push. Dear me. That could not have gone worse. Molotov outside. Rook will take the brunt of that there. Another nade, but there's so much damage pouring back out. In comes reinforcements. Nice shots from the back line.
It's clean trades at the minute. Either one of them dealing damage. Oh, the reinforcements arriving in the up-close fight gets a bit awkward. That SMG pelting bullets round the corner. The rest of the squad for Rook looking to try and reset a little bit. Harame, bro. They've got a window of opportunity to play for the res. Get his teammate back up, but the nade going over denies the potential on the doorway. They can't make a clean exit from it. Rook really taking a beating now. Quick reloads, trying to reposition and use the high ground. See if they can take the beak. Oh, through the sides. Hang on a minute. He's so low in the engagement. Mirror matchup on the movement. They both drop down. Quick bandage pulled out.
This fight's messy. Like bolognese and me in a white t-shirt. Rook trying to get this one done, but it has been difficult as Bro Harame has been doing a fairly decent job with the nades to hold the back, and another one bounces around the corner. I think another team might have just joined the engagement too, though.
Look like TJB, Tongji Abao, finding opportunities to strike from the sideline. Now they're going close. They know the players are weak and they want to clean up on those lower targets. And TJB, they make the first move and it pays off. The timing on the fight was clean for them. The final man just trying to bail out and get away. So low on health, he knows he's got to run. Federales gets himself into a slightly better spot.
Really nice third party there from Tongji Abao. I mean, the fight was taking so long, you would be remiss to think that no one would have joined in on that one. For Tongji Abao, that's just a case of free placement. IWNRX tries to save the points. Swain's in the water. But their points are very much above ground right now, so I think they can afford to have one bad game, I would say.
Everybody gets one with how their day's gone. They won't be too defeated or upset off the back of this one. Swain more like Swan as he's sitting in the deep blue, waiting for his opportunity to make the move, trying to keep his head down. Top's got such a freebie on this though.
Yeah, he cannot get away from this one. Inco, D plus Kia after their pretty awesome hold versus Madballs, who kind of just sent themselves flying down the cliff face and into the chasm below. IWNRX will be finished off there. That's their final game of the day. Still able to put 2 eliminations up on the game anyway, so ending this first day with 73 points. They're going to have a real bad day tomorrow if anyone wants to knock them out the top 4. Highly doubtful, though. This circle very much controlled by Twisted Minds in a nice compound towards the center here, but a high ground to play around with. Twisted Minds, though, just don't strike me as a team that's going to be able to defend this. Time will tell, though.
They've had good splits. They've had good third parties. When it comes to them being the focal point, can they withstand everything that's thrown at them from the other squads? Pandem. 24 points currently, 3 Elim points racked up inside of this one. Bit of an off angle, peeking over the top, looking to assess the move in from Moneymakers. Talking of moving, Falcons, they've been clocked by Moneymakers. They know where they are now.
Yeah, Moneymakers on the backline here, it's not a bad spot, to be honest with you. They're getting pushed in by the circle, Jackie. It's tough. It's a tough scenario for them. And there's so many sidelines towards their position as well. You can see if they can potentially maneuver along the beach here, scatter some sand in their wake, but again, They'll be waking up a lot of teams around them when they make that move.
The Inco crash has been something we've seen a few times today. Close angle, 7, looking to make the move in. Shotgun in his hands. All right, D+ Kia, can you withstand? So far, so good, as they're able to isolate both of these engagements, rattle their way through the Inco players, inch by inch. They clean up on that one. A dive from Inco that results in their demise.
D+ Kia must be incredibly confused right now, I would say. It feels like two teams have just sent themselves to their doorsteps to just be given points away to them. This was a nice crash from the Moneymakers. Falcons were on a wide split on this coastal edge. Moneymakers isolates one of them. I believe they should get all players back up again. So now typically this is now a 4v3 on this eastern side. So that's a nice play there from Moneymakers. Might open up an opportunity in this game. Falcons feeling a little bit more worried now, just down to one player.
Oh, and Icy off the back of the shot that landed right between the eyes for Top and took his top clean off. Icy with the nades going in, almost directly on target. You get that Icy versus Icy fight, but which one? There's the colder blood in their veins to keep the composure in the head-to-head. With a backstab round the corner for Moneymakers as well, it should just be a formality to finish this one off without Falcons doing too much damage back.
Besiktas has kind of been very quiet on this one. You sort of understand why with the fact that they're playing with 2 members. How many is it going to take, guys?
Seems like in the end it's just Koa's weapon that was required as the SMG cleaves round the corner, and that's what finishes off the Falcons then, taking them down.
Moves over the Molotov there. Seems like Icy's feet are dead cold as they put out the fires underneath him. D+ Kia down towards their south side. It really is this focal point on this eastern edge. Inside, big old urban finish. Nice shot from Poser though on the back line. Havlik might just get finished off here. Immediately there's a smoke placed down. I think they'll let him get away with it. Just pre-firing the angle. They want to get Havlik back, but he is finished off by one of the Twisted Minds players.
You can see on the player cam as well, Havlik furious going down in that scenario. The emotion starting to run rife now with how important this game is going to be for some of these teams.
I mean, they've been given an opportunity here, and it was a good rotate. A nice smash into Falcons as well. Feathers going everywhere. And that could have been the moment, but they are taking many casualties. Down to just 2 players now. Frustrating match for the Moneymakers. This could have been a big one for them. Twisted Minds playing on really good high ground here. Great oversight to a lot of these teams who are trying to make it through on that coastal arena. So I like that from them. They're not just focusing towards that urban area of the map. They're also focusing towards these teams that could backstab them later on. So good plays. With Obscure playing up towards that northern side, he has eyes on towards those teams on the west. So yeah, nice little game here for the guys over on Twisted Minds. Team Spirit, probably the furthest we've seen them into any match so far.
Yeah, they've kept themselves alive in this one. But as we've seen over the course of the day, it seems like the second they're on our screens, the opportunity for them to start to dissipate is right round the corner. This time, no Nomi does get the nade off into the TJB compound. Blows one man down. You got the backup from the side as well. Nades in the back pocket, using those smokes for the defense. What remains of brute force is also lurking just on the outskirts of all of this commotion that's going down. And CAG Osaka are moving in, closing that distance, and seize the opportunity that's been presented from the engagement from Team Spirit to get a couple more points from this one. D+ Kia also get the knock back onto Old Boy.
Cleaning up the final members here of Moneymakers. Just one left in Icy. D+ Kia has had a hell of a game here. And it just feels like everything's fallen into the right places at the right time, and the puzzle sort of completed itself for D+ Kia on this match. I mean, I bet they're pleased. Give them a lot of points here they really wanted. 9 elims so far. But again, here's this angle from Twisted Minds. Once again, being very, very instrumental in this game.
Proactive with their peaks. They saw the opportunity. Wheeled the attack from a distance. Got a nice little bit of chip back onto the DK Plus side. Zone moving in as well. Kagosaka just on the outskirts. That lone ranger for brute force. He has just been keeping his nose clean, does not want to get stuck into any fights. And this has been one that's going on for quite some time. You saw the initial opener that came out from Team Spirit, but since then, TJB reset. CAG Osaka couldn't commit to it. Besiktas as well. Further down now. Just a duo to work with. They could still have a good day of things if they play their cards right.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable from Team Spirit as well to back off on that one. I think as soon as they started to see the nades coming from another team, they didn't want to be locked inside that compound. We saw what Tongji Bao were able to do when a fight broke out in that area. It's a good nade immediately, and a great molly as well to cut him off from the escape. That is very nice from Tongji Bao.
It's a massive follow-up. Great use of the utility, and the comms are clearly on point for them, even trying to split their minds between two of the fights that could potentially come from either angle, focusing heavily onto the CAG Osaka side with the constant barrage of utility that's going over, forcing them back. Nomi's still just lurking on the sides.
I mean, they could push up, could Team Spirit, actually, whilst Tongji Bao has focused so much of their attention over towards this western edge. There's still an angle from behind here in Apollo. And just trying to spot out some players that overstep maybe the boundaries. Funnily enough, not able to clean out that player just yet, and there's potential now for maybe a res, but the TJB util run out.
They're putting an X on their backs. So much commotion, so much noise in this one area. D plus Kia seeing another opportunity to start to make their way in. That'd be the backstab onto Team Spirit as well. And the high ground of Twisted Minds could still find some more lucrative success throughout the flow of this one. You talk about high ground though. D plus Kia putting themselves into a pretty good position. You've got a bit of a block from the backhand side. Up close and personal though. TJB, again, it's the nades that open up the engagement versus CAG Osaka. They don't want this team getting anywhere near another second chicken dinner today.
Got it. Trapped in a net between the guys from Tongji Bao. Got him dead to rights. Team Spirit. So quiet though in the meantime. Lovely smoke ball set up here. Judo even pops up. Will take down Garnet, potentially steals away the elimination. That's one more in the back pocket for Brute Force.
That's what he was waiting for so long. At no point did he reveal himself. At no point did he pop up. A little hello, just to say goodbye to that one man in front of him. Now you're paranoid. You're at least suspicious about where his position could be. Besiktas still moving up as well, getting a bit closer in terms of the angles here, right in the face of Pandem. And they're going to be able to make quick work of that one, diving around the corner and denying any sort of shenanigans.
Yeah, Pandem sort of in a situation where they look confused there. Besiktas Black come up very quickly from that location. And two-man team that's been playing on this edge for quite some time. D plus Kia vaulting their way into position, but again, these Twisted Minds position up on the high ground, super good. And they've extracted a lot of value out of this game just from that high ground spot in the first place. So very much liking this Twisted Minds position. You see a lot of teams would try and play on here, and they do absolutely nothing. However, Twisted Minds have certainly secured this location with the circle heading further that way. It's feeling more and more like a Twisted Minds game.
The gang set up for it. It's just about the plays that need to be made. Don't overextend. Don't give away the benefit that you have from this high ground. So many teams are aware of the potential now. And it's a hard rotate here. You can see on screen, trying to actually bypass them, using the smokes to make some kind of temporary cover to get yourself out.
Problem for me is Team Spirit, man. We saw that last match where they were stuck in a location and the blue pushed them in, and they had so much indecision on the squad. So much so to the point where they just didn't do anything and went down off the back of it. So for Team Spirit, there needs to be something here that urges them to move. And here it is. They head further into the circle. D plus Kia's waiting for them though, but it's just one solo.
One man, but he can still get a lot of damage done. Nades in the back pocket as well. CAG Osaka finally started to make their move, and from a distance, consistently, they're taking damage, and that's how they go down. The solo for Brute Force. He's been playing brutish in these encounters, stealing E-limbs here and there wherever he's given an opportunity. TJB also filled the infliction from the Pandemonium squad.
Try to move out, get further up, but nice shots from the solo here. Not many smokes after that entire smoke train that they set up just to try and deal with the guys on CAG Osaka. In come the rest now to shroud their player out in the open in front. But I think the damage has already been done. Long nades out the front, get the airburst on one of them. And now he's sent back. I think he has to play a little bit more passive now on Panda, but up to 5 eliminations, it's not a bad match. And Judo, still going, man.
Still alive, still kicking. Oh, the top of the hill, proving again to be quite a powerful position for Twisted Minds. The nade dropping in. You get that first one off, but there's no clear line of sight, no reason for him to overcommit to the opening damage that he got there. They know how powerful it can be, just biding their time, waiting this one out somewhat. TJB with a turn back around as well. Uh-oh.
That's tough. I think he just got rezzed, an immediate headshot as he popped back up into action. Twisted Minds finding shots over towards Besiktas. Question for me is just how much ammo remains. We saw that Hygor is out of nades now. Judo living on a prayer right now, literally. Here comes GK first to finish off this player. Could be a nasty nade that comes out the window. Tries to rebound it, fails.
There's 2 more in the back pocket. Footsteps being heard. We're looking for the turn around the corner, baiting out the initial shots, trying to make him waste the magazine. But he gets wasted. No more pandering to be had there as he's down at all eyes. Just on Judo, trapped in. Brute force, they've been somehow weaving their way through this. And they are lucky to have this man still alive. So low on health with the nades consistently battling down on him.
I mean, a top 5, I don't know how he's surviving these nades, man. They are so close. His buggy is close to exploding as well. Has to drop out. Tries to get the shots back onto him. And Obscure's worried. Only has the micro Uzi and is very little on ammo here. Can finally get a bit of a reset on this crate underneath as they come off the top side. Now Twisted Minds start to play on the low ground. TJB and Team Spirit now in a 3rd place position. This is huge for this team. But again, it feels too late, Jackie.
It seems like that expiry has already come and gone. Is this the start of maybe a new day tomorrow for them? Or will it still just be a blip? TJB, can they do something with the duo? The only squad that's down to just 2 players at this point. They have been constantly thrown from pillar to post in the fights that have been breaking out here. Whereas Twisted Minds, they've been allowed to live their movie. Only take the opportunities they want to go for. Like you said, though, the one detriment has been the actual ammunition and utility they've had available to them. They had to share the scraps that were scavenged off of the boxes.
Final zone now. This will close in until all teams are enveloped in the blue. There's a timer on this game now. For Team Spirit, they need the chicken dinner. They need the chicken dinner for a hope in hell that the sun does rise tomorrow for them. For TJB, a chicken dinner would mean leaping up into that top 4 now. They're currently in 6th place, really not that far behind DRX with 37 points, currently tied with Team Falcons. So a lot on the line for both these teams. For TJB, it would mean a top 4 finish at the end of day 1. For Team Spirit, on the other hand, it would mean a slim chance tomorrow.
The potential, that's what they're playing for. A chance, an opportunity. Twisted Minds, in a similar kind of vein, looking to move up. They know who the real target is, who the real problem is. It's Tongji Bao, lurking down, trying to play on this 2 elevation split. 1 player with the DBS right below here. Obscure, focusing more so on the backside in case there's a cheeky peek up. Nades raining down from the rest of the teammates as well. Spirit don't want to overcommit until they can guarantee themselves a good opportunity to take the fight. A little bit of chip damage done. Somewhat low here. If they go for the drop down, Obscure, the sheer rate of fire he could have, he could clean his way through that man. But they get the heals back off, playing with the smokes. There's the nade up. Obscure taking a little bit of damage. Spirit thinking maybe we can move in on this. We'll throw the nades round the side.
There's a good corral from Team Spirit. Might open things up. The drop down comes through. There's the DBS shot. Immediately though, what's this? 1 player from Team Spirit is down. Just 2 remain, and Twisted Minds might have nailed this one.
Looks like they're in good stead for it. Tongji Bao relying on just the DBS's stopping power. Slug after slug is all they can rely on. Kitsune and what remains of Spirit, the brothers in arms, can they stand strong against Twisted Minds that are turning the needle, looking like they want to shut this one down? They've been in the driving seat for so long throughout the flow of this game, and they want to make sure they're the ones that get the glory at the end of the day. They're looking for the drop on it. Obscure, deciding if it's the right time to go. Molotovs over the edge. It's putting so much pressure on them. They've got the better angle to play with, but they're forced to drop down. This is when problems could arise. Kitsune recoiling further back. Tongji about out of commission. The elevated ground still working for Twisted Minds. Drop down with a shotty, unloading with the buck, looking to commit onto it.
Kitsune, no! Isn't able to do it! A perfect drop from Twisted Minds, though, dude, onto the elevated ground. They had a plan. And this mine was not twisted. They had it straight towards the end game.
They kept it consistent. They knew what they wanted to do, and their play style flowed through the entire duration of the game, finding elevation and movement that blessed them for a chicken dinner at the end of the day. Twisted Minds.
So much opportunity for potentially the guys on Team Spirit to just have that one in the bag. They were in the center of the circle. It all came crumbling down as soon as they made that leap like Batman onto the catwalk. That was unbelievable. The amount of times that Twisted Minds might have gone down in that match playing with little to nothing in terms of utility, in terms of ammo, yet they had such a massive impact on that game. That was very, very well played.
They made concessions the whole way through, scavenged ammunition where possible, and made each and every piece of their utility count to close down the last game of the first day of survival stage with a huge chicken dinner and potentially a pathway if they can maintain.
Not only that, I think they might have just killed off Team Spirit with that game. Tongji Bao must have got quite a few points as well, so that sits them back into the top 4 at the end of the day. It's not the worst result in the world for them, but man, I think it was just this play on the side. I think it was Nomi who got shot out as he peeks over, and he was the linchpin on that fight. He just peeked over too much here, and that's what ends up losing the game. He tries to drop back down for the teammates. Naomi starts things well, but this was such a crazy drop down.
So close towards success. So many targets to prioritize. The DPS ripping and roaring, but in the end, it's the Twisted Minds that claim it.
The fact that they were able to just kind of stall that one out and then drop players down one by one, I think it put the fear of God over into Team Spirit. They just weren't sure what to do there. A really, really tough game. And I think Team Spirit, they tried their best at the end of the day to get some momentum going, but I think that game is not the type of game that makes you feel good going into tomorrow. It's just not. So I think our eyes will just be on different teams.
I think so. You know, they had the potential, a bit of an opportunity where maybe they could run away with things, but that one's not going to make you smiley blank.
No, it will not make you smiley at all. Look, I feel bad. This was the game for Team Spirit. It's where I had hope, but my hope's gone now. However, I hope that the desk potentially has a little bit more hope for the teams towards the top. The teams towards the top.
Of course, we have Hope, Smiley, Blink, and Jackie. Thank you so much for bringing us the action here in these last 3 matches. And yes, Team Spirit so close, yet so far, unfortunately, not able to close out the game.
Get away.
Why can't I come to that side?
This is ducks only.
Ducks.
Yeah.
Max, what are you doing?
I'm a duck too.
Okay. So it's me versus 3 ducks. I think I'm going to lose this one. But you know who didn't lose this one? Twisted Minds!
Twisted Minds!
I
Hooray!
think the course actually looked back like, where's he
wait,
going?
who won? I forgot.
Who won? I don't know. They take on the win, and Max, you called her. You're like, jump on the bridge! Jump on the bridge!
I said it as a meme initially. I was like, they're not going to do that, and then they actually go for the bridge play, and it was dead center. So taking the stuff to win, good job, and just rain down points on Team Spirit at the end too. I don't know, it's a weird finish.
That was a great finish.
Great finish, but win.
Team Spirit, by the way, a team that did the points. Only 11 though.
Well, more points than 5 from the previous game.
That's
So
more than they had total so far.
Yeah.
7 as well.
Yeah.
Good for them.
D+ was sweeping the East, by the way, like 9 eliminations, only 3 placement points. They were getting so many fights early on, so good from them.
they've run up 2 really good Miramars, to be perfectly honest. And I mean, coming in from somewhere like Partona in the previous one, etc., and things like that, does take quite a while. But overall, I like the way Twisted Minds played this one. Constantly holding on to the high ground, is very strong over this kind of factory area that they were able to hold on to. And they were able to make it work from there. You saw as they were able to get a few pickoffs here and there, just cleaning up teams as they were coming into the area.
It's good to see TJB Esports also being able to get some eliminations. That was a big question mark for me for this team. We know they could definitely frag out, but it was a little bit offsetting during group stage. 5 out of their 12 matches, they ended up with 0 eliminations. So it's good to see TJB finally getting those elims.
But Inco, man, it's not been their day.